Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Phoolery, and I am here for an update video and a bit of a ramble video because I wanted to share some stuff. So what are you looking at? You are looking at my wargaming table, which is currently set up for games of Ruthless. Ruthless is this two-page, in my case four-page, but the distinction in wargaming right now between a two-page or one-page rule system is that they are usually front to back, and they are usually free. And they are lovely game systems if you want to just kind of toy around with various game systems. But basically, I'm going to be writing a series of short stories and reading those short stories on my YouTube channel. They will be under the label of The Town of Cessation. The story is going to be full of gun battles, set in the fictional Erie River Valley of Colorado in the 1880s during a gold rush. Yes, the Erie River Gold Rush in the Erie River Valley. It's all fictional, but it takes place in the 1880s, and all of the gunfights and events of the short stories will be determined by me playing games of Ruthless. Specifically, they will be solitaire games of Ruthless. And playing solitaire is a little different than playing with two players. Now, what you need to play Ruthless is some terrain. Obviously, I have this lovely little town built, but I have more buildings being created. Well, not created. They're models that I have to put together and paint, or in this case, stain, because these are wooden MDF. But basically, these are all little kits that I build and paint and put together, much like the models I used to play this game with, which are these lovely 28mm models, like this fellow here. He is a plastic, from a Dead Man's Hand multi-part plastic kit. I have a bunch of guys, about 30? Yes, 30. I have 30 of them in the plastic from the multi-part kits. They're all built and painted. Then I have two more squads of people from the lovely Artesian Modeling Company out of London. They have a lovely set of Wild West historical models that I've put together and painted up. They're not completely painted. They've been base coated and are waiting me to paint shortly. And then I also have some more Dead Man's Hands model kits, like these metal ones, the Pinkertons I still have to build. I have the Malevolent 7. These guys are kind of skeletons. We'll talk about them later. Yes, this will not be completely historically accurate. There will be undead appearing, like this Revenant, who's also a skeleton man, but he's kind of more like a recently dead person, like he's all like rotting flesh and stuff, whereas these guys will be just kind of like bleached bones. Anyway, need to stay on topic. So that's kind of what you need to play the town of, or to play Ruthless. You will need two teams of 2 to 5 models each, so that would be like a minimum of 4 models and a maximum of 10 models. And then it doesn't really say any kind of traditional wargaming board. In my case, I have a 6x4 foot table set up for games of Warhammer 40k. So I just took this Badlands battle mat from Cigar Box Games, which is this lovely cloth blanket that has got this lovely texture printed on it, and I find that works well for like kind of a Colorado. Maybe I've only been to Colorado a couple of times. It's a very diverse state in terms of geography. So, I've got about, this is like less than half the buildings total. They will eventually represent locations in Cessation. This is kind of laid out for me, just playing games regularly. It's still waffling. So when playing this game, solitaire, there's a few things I like to do. Because traditionally when you play this game, you have your deck of cards, and each side gets dealt a poker hand. So they get dealt 5 hand cards, and then, they get and then they get dealt each one card to show who goes first. Well, actually, you deal 2 poker hands, and then each player chooses one card out of their hand to determine who goes first. In which case, whoever played the queen would go first, and whoever played the 6 would go second. When I play solitaire, I will deal a poker hand to each side, and then I will deal randomly from the top 1 card each. And that's basically how I do that. So that's just how I play solitaire. And if I'm playing with 2 full-sized squads of 5, then each side still has their 5 cards. I don't find that that's much of a disadvantage or an advantage when playing solitaire. It just gives me more options to play, because I like to play cold and logistically and not favor anybody, and go with the best move at the time a model activates. But yeah, playing solitaire requires that kind of like cold logistic analytical mind, because otherwise you might favor one side over the other, which may be advantageous if you're trying to write a story. In my case, I don't care who lives or dies in this particular story, so I will be playing cold and analytical, which means that the stories will be mostly written from the third-person perspective, and yeah, don't get attached to anyone, because this game is incredibly quick, incredibly brutal, and people will die. And a lot of people will die. So you may get attached to somebody, and then he may die horribly in a gunfight. Let me just put it this way. In playtesting how I've been playing this game on my own time, and determining how to set this up for playing solitaire for creating these stories, I had one group of people survive 3 games in a row, and then on the 4th game, their leader was the marshal of this like band of lawmen, got just absolutely fucking dumpstered in like the opening barrage of the game, because I did something really stupid with him, because he had quite a bit of advantages built up at that point, and he was kind of a badass, and I was just like, okay, well, he's a badass, so let's go put the badass, do some badass things. And he went out to do some badass things, and then everybody on the enemy team shot him because he was out in the open. He was an easy target, and yeah, he just got fucking obliterated. And it was just like, well, that's what you get for trying to be a hero. But at the same time, like, that wasn't me trying to get him killed. It was I tried to play him to his strengths, and he failed miserably out the gate, and because he rolled really poorly on his shooting, and he got gunned down. And that's when you think about like the OK Corral. It's said that the OK Corral gunfight lasted anywhere between 30 to 45 seconds. Something that historically like important when it comes to like what people think of like gunfights in the Old West. Most people think of the old OK Corral, because that is like one of the most like biggest and violent gunfights that saw like a whole bunch of people die all in one go, and then established the Earps as like these badasses you didn't want to fuck with. Yeah, it was like a shot a second in that time. And like that's very true of gunfights today. Most gunfights, if you look at statistics from the FBI, they say that most shootings involving police officers or just civilian on civilian, most of the time it's just like 1 or 2 shots are fired and it's over in seconds, in the blink of an eye. And this game can be over in like turn 1, turn 1, first half. The people who go first, they open fire. Everyone on the other side dies, and game's over. And that to me is very apropos, as it were. So to aid in my storytelling, I've got some. I recently picked up off of eBay some of these civilian sets from Dead Man Hands. These are kind of like window dressing models. They're unarmed. They don't have any rules. They've got like the Undertaker set, which has like the Undertaker and a guy with a hammer in his hand and a guy with a sack over his shoulder. They've got the Rogan's Bar set, which is like two bartenders and a guy sweeping. And you have the bank set, which has like a teller who's being held at gunpoint. You have a teller who's just kind of standing there, and you've got this lady. And I think that'll be useful. Those models will be useful for representing non-combatants in the story. If people want to shoot a non-combatant, for running their mouth or whatever, then I've got models to represent them. So, and yeah, so that is the plan. As far as content going forward, we will be doing the town of Cessation. Or probably what I'm just going to call the series is Cessation. And it will follow a whole bunch of terrible people all shooting the shit out of each other in this gold rush boomtown in a fictional period of the 1880s in Colorado. Yeah, I hope you look forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm still building things. I'm still playing games. I'm writing some prequel product, some like prequel stories. Now, I guess not really prequel. They're going to be like build-up tales to kind of establish some groups of people, because there is like a character leveling system, believe it or not, in these very sparse rules. There is a character building system, and you've got all these like various traits that you can give people, some good, some bad. And that's basically what I'm going to do, is to create a couple of groups, to establish some groups before they ultimately meet in the town of Cessation and come to blows. We'll be following some of these groups as they get their starts in other places. And that's the nice thing about wargaming like this, is because this board isn't set in stone. You can pick these up and move these and put them wherever you like. And so I'll be able to do all sorts of different little town layouts as I continue to build everything else. And I've got like a barn and a couple houses and some things that'll be useful for if they leave to like a nearby ranch or claim out in the Erie River Valley. Then I can obviously set up the board to play those kinds of areas. But I've got some lovely little details, like these little wooden outhouses. And these are MDF. And if you're someone who plays ward games and you build MDF, a lot of people have all different ways to paint MDF. I am someone who stains MDF. I use ink, acrylic ink, to stain the wood. I find for Old West buildings gives them these nice, muted, weathered colors. Makes them look a lot more old school, because obviously your methods of painting and such during this era are a little different. A lot of towns were just raw wood, untreated completely. But I don't find that is very visually interesting. So obviously I just get acrylic inks, which are nice and cheap. And you take a sponge brush and you just sponge brush on everything, and it stains the wood, and it makes the MDF wood look really cool. So this is just like brown ink. You can see the untreated bottom there. Then you just stain it with brown ink, and now it looks like weathered wood. So, but yeah. And I'm not like some major painter. Like a lot of these models are just contrast painted. I love contrast. It makes painting models quick, easy. There's a few things I do with my contrast models to make them look a little better. I do a zenithal highlight with an airbrush, and then dry brush white over the edges. It gives them a nice contrast. And then I will do contrast over contrast, so they can get areas like staining at the bottom of this guy's coat and the blood stains. looking a lot more weathered. But and then I'll usually do silver. I'll paint metallic silver before I paint the model. So then, and then I'll put contrast over the metal, and then it gives them, it can create some very unique metallic effects by putting contrast over metal. But yeah, so, and obviously when I make the videos, I'll be taking pictures to the best of my ability, to try and show what is going on. I will try to take pictures of the models to recreate shootouts as they happen to the best of my ability. Hopefully it'll be something interesting and something people enjoy watching. But anyways, I thought I'd share with you, like, because obviously I've got like this undead revenant model, and then I've got skeletons here. And you're probably wondering, what the hell are you going to be doing with skeletons and undead in a Wild West gunfighter story? Well, I don't want to spoil it exactly. I have an obsession with skeleton cowboys. Going back to my childhood days. Hold on, let me get it. I am from and live in the great state of Ohio, and the best amusement park in the world, sorry Florida, is here in Ohio. It is Cedar Point. Get wrecked, nerds. Cedar Point is, bar none, the best amusement park in the world. I will not hear otherwise. Like, this is my brush mug, is a Cedar Point mug. That should tell you everything about me. In Cedar Point, there is a train. There's an old steam locomotive that you can use to get around the park. You can take it. It'll take you to. It'll basically take you straight to the Maverick, which is the big scary wooden and steel roller coaster on the opposite side of the park from the front gate. The old steam train is essentially just there to act as transportation to and from Frontierland. You can walk to Frontierland, but Frontierland is way in the rear of the park, and the middle of the point, at the midpoint of the park, is where the steam train is. And when you are going into Frontier Town, there's not a whole lot to see on the train. It's just a very gentle train ride that you go straight in, and you get off at the Maverick, and then you can either go ride the Maverick or any of the other rides that are back in Frontier Town. If you are riding from Frontier Town back into, like the modern sci-fi side of Cedar Point, you will go through Boneville. And Boneville is a series of roughly animatronic. I don't think really does them justice. They're animatronically puppeteered. I would say they're pneumatically puppeteered skeletons. Like most of them at most are just like a wood, and they're made of wood, but they're wooden skeletons that have been painted and varnished to look like real bleached bone skeletons, and they will get shot and fall over, and it's just like a stick that's been shoved up the back of one of these skeletons, and it just falls over as it's attached to the skin. Some of them are kind of marionette puppets. They'll rattle around. But it's a very rough form of like an animatronic ride compared to something like Disney. But I love Boneville. Boneville, whenever I was a little boy, and even to this day, if I go to Cedar Point, we got to go through Boneville. If we're leaving, I cannot leave the park until I have seen Boneville. So, it has given me this lifelong obsession with skeleton cowboys, hence why I have these skeleton cowboy models here, because that is my love letter to Boneville. But I will be incorporating undead skeletons into Boneville. Not into Boneville, but into the stories related to the town of Cessation. Anyways, so that's my update for now. Plotting, planning, playing little war games, and doing stuff on VR chat with my friends, because that's what gives me most pleasure at this current point, as I lightly look for work on the meantime. But I'm looking for work that pays, not just gonna settle for anything. So, anywho's, Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you're looking forward to the stories that are about to come up with related to cessation. And yeah, we will see you soon. Till then, take it easy, guys. Bye.